Welcome to the family with
Officer Dave.
Tevin Pittman.
And Andy Brant Bernard.
See, God, I should have had Martin stick around for this show too. Martin was a good guy, didn't you think?
Oh yeah, you can tell that his style of comedy is just very subtle and, like you're saying, very dark because it feels like without even trying, he was making everybody laugh.
Yeah, he wasn't even trying. You're absolutely right. Just a really, really good guy. And the last segment we did there, I thought that was terrific. They did a very nice job. I like having comedians in, no question about it.
It's fun to have him in on Fridays. It's for sure.
Yeah.
I know I enjoy it.
And especially him clamming up when you brought up Fallon every time, Tom. And
He just clammed up. It's true. Today, of course, is Groundhog's Day, but it also means that it's my daughter Alex's birthday today. She was born on Groundhog's Day.
Aw. Happy birthday, Alex.
See?
I know you're not listening, but
What do you mean? She's glued to us.
Not likely.
What do you mean not likely? What are you guys talking about? Okay, you're not coming across. Is that the plan? I just saw something here. 10 stats and facts for Groundhog's Day. What facts do you need to hear about Groundhog's Day?
One, it has a groundhog.
Actually, number one is don't put too much stock in Punxsutawney Phil's prediction. He's been making them since 1888, and he's only been right about 39% of the time, so you'd be better off flipping a coin.
Actually, yeah, you'd actually be better off doing the opposite of what he says then.
that's one old groundhog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it's 1889, he's been around for a while.
Same
no
exact one the whole time.
Well, this year, like I said, I was telling Chris Eggert that I watch Channel 5 Eyewitness News every morning when I get up because with the app now, you just pop it up on your TV screen. It's wonderful. I just absolutely love that. And they're talking about temperatures in the mid 40s to the low 50s.
Yeah.
So how do you predict that when there never was a winter? How do you predict the end of winter?
yeah, that was my question. Like, so if he came out and said, "Hey, it's 6 more weeks of winter," does that mean it's 6 more weeks of 40 degrees, or
Yes.
are we still in risk of getting some snow?
Yeah, I mean there's no way you could. There hasn't. What has there been about a couple of inches of snow total?
7 inches, I think, is
7,
what's
yeah.
the official. Yep.
That's
And
all
I
gone.
drove the Mustang today.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. No question about it. God, I was talking to a friend of mine. He drives a car. I think this car is like 5-6 years old, something like that. It's a nice car. It was an expensive car. So I should, come up front with that whole deal. Took it in for service. Got the bill, $13,000 for service on a vehicle. Whoa, that's a lot of money.
It's about half as much as my car was. So.
Well, I do remember when I was a kid, our neighbor bought a brand new car and he paid like $5,000 for it.
Yep.
I
And
do remember
probably
that as a little
had
boy.
tons of horsepower and all the other stuff to go with it, too.
But how are people going to make it in this world where everything? Another guy, when I told him that story, said, "Yeah, I mean, it's everything." He went to one of the burger joints, got a burger, fries, and a Coke, and it was like $16.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I would say that's probably about on the low end.
Yeah.
Really?
For like downtown, I would say you're usually pushing $20-$22 after tax and everything.
Yep. No,
For
if I-
burgers, fries, and a Coke.
If
Yeah.
I go to Culver's, it's $20. Yep.
At Culver's, it's $20.
Yep. But I get 2 double cheeseburgers, large fry, large drink.
Well,
Wow.
but still, back in the day, that would have been about $6.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, and if you actually go to a sit-down restaurant, that's like where you're getting, where it's a chef-inspired, hand-pressed burger.
Yep.
Now, yeah, just hand them your wallet. and
yeah.
walk out.
Well, I had the experience a couple of months ago. Some friends of ours took Catherine and me to dinner one night at a very nice restaurant, and the bill came, and he said, "I invited you, so I'm picking up the bill and all the rest of it." $1,000 for dinner for 4. Now there were a couple of bottles of wine there, but they weren't like $400 bottles of wine.
Mhm.
They're like $1, maybe $1.25 or something like that. Dinner for 4 with wine was $1,000.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, but think of the ambiance. And the
Yeah,
overall
exactly.
dining experience.
Oh, it
The
was well
experience.
worth it.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. So it is Groundhog's Day. It doesn't look like there's going to, well, there never was a winter in Minnesota in any case. It really didn't matter. What's all funny about that, though? Because somebody always has to pay the price. Like when you tell me it's going to be really nice in Minnesota, that means the weather's going to be absolutely horrible in like Georgia or Alabama or someplace
Yep.
like that.
Mhm.
Yep.
There's always there. It's never across the board where it's nice everywhere.
No.
I suppose in the middle of summer, I guess that's about it. But so what else is new? Oh, wait a minute! Big Shot's with us.
There you go. Big Shot is here.
He's got
We're
his red
sitting right
shirt
by
on.
my screen, looking at all this. My stock quotes bounce up and down.
What is going
Positive
on?
stuff from Amazon. Positive stuff from
Really?
Facebook. Apple not as positive, but returning to where it started yesterday or where it finished yesterday.
I got a request from a listener. Said when Josh comes on, I want him to, and he sent me this stuff. I want him to give me some advice. Are you ready to give somebody some advice?
I'm ready to give somebody advice.
I'm not.
I'm
gonna
writing
mention the-
this down.
Okay, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but it's a traditional IRA plan at a big bank that everybody knows. Contributions, blah blah blah. It goes down the list. The interest on it has been $17,324 is the amount. $13 in interest paid. There, you get no interest at all on this traditional IRA. Why do people do that if they don't gain anything? Why would they do that?
No or very low risk putting the money in a bank account. Can't lose the money, not going to gain any money,
Right.
going to get a little bit of interest. That's it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of inertia, lack of inertia, and fear of loss more than anything else.
That's
So
what
I'm
it
going to
is.
put the money in a bank because it's safe. I'm not going to lose any money,
I see. Okay.
and that's it. Most people are not have a greater fear of losing money than of seeing any return on the money, and most people when they invest think it's just like earning interest. Well, things are going to go up X amount of percent every year. So on a long-term basis, and we can even go back very long-term, the S&P index is averaged 10% a year, very, very long-term, dating back to the late 1920s. Now, of course, you're going to have periods of time when market is up, periods of time when the S&P is down. As an example, last year, 2023, the S&P was up 24%. Man, that is a lot better than the bank. But over the course of the year, there were at least 4 pullbacks between 5 and 10% last year from where you started. So
Yeah.
over the course of the year, somebody's looking and saying, "Oh, if I put my money in the bank, never lose. I got my $13 of interest on my $17,000 that's in that bank IRA." But if
Wait a second.
but if this particular individual would have put the money in the S&P index, so that's 500 stocks and they're weighted differently. At the end of the year, that value would have been up 24% from his 17,000. But over the course of the year, that 17,000 could have been down. Could have been down 1,700. Then it could have been up. Then it could have been down. Then it could have been up. And a lot of people, Tom, can't deal with that fluctuation
Sure. Okay.
throughout a year or even day to day.
You know what's so
So-
great about this, honest to God, and I am not making this up. I can't show you because it would show the person's name. But you just gave a couple of numbers. $17,324. The interest paid $13, just what you said it was going to be. How the hell did you know that?
I think you told me earlier, but what can I tell you?
don't know.
I could do it.
Well, did
Yeah,
you? I don't
you
remember.
did. You'd
Oh, did
mentioned
I
it.
tell him earlier?
I pay attention
$13.
to a few things.
But see, that's the whole thing. It's very impressive that you remember that because I said it and I didn't even remember saying it. So it's still impressive that you remember that.
Well, a few things that I can remember.
One of the very
Numbers.
few things.
Money. Josh only
Oh,
remembers.
that's it, Super Dave. Money. That's what my wife used to say. That's what my significant other says. That's all you think about is money. You think about money and stocks. Okay, I do. There are a few other things I think about. Running shoes, food, a few restaurants I like.
Grandkids.
Yeah,
Grandkids, well, they're a little lower on the list, but they're there.
Oh, that's nice. Do you? No, I have to ask you. Your running shoes. Do you go with the new slip-ons?
No, not
No, a lot of runners don't. What? Is there a reason that runners don't? Because you like to tie your own.
Well, I do like to tie my own shoes, and there are some running shoes that you don't have to necessarily tie. But one of the things with the slip-ons, the heel count, there is no heel counter, so your heel can float around. And I need that extra support from the heel counter that's built into the shoe.
That makes sense, no question about it. But yeah, I was out asking. I also asked some people about that because I was thinking about getting some, and they said the one thing that they didn't like is the soles are a little softer than a regular tennis shoe, and they don't like the softness. They like to feel that solid feeling when they put their foot down.
No, they're different. They're different type of shoes, and a lot of people do like, we'll say, walking on clouds, or they do like the soft, squishy feel of the shoe.
Right.
Now, Skechers, since you brought up the slip-on,
right?
Skechers is one of the big proponents of that slip-on shoe. See, you don't have to bend down to put your shoe on. You don't have to tie the shoe. Well, a lot of people have the shoes tied, and they still slip the shoe on because they've crushed the heel counter in the back of the shoe.
Guilty.
Which is like, okay, how stupid are you spending that kind of money on shoes and then crushing the back of the shoe? If you're going to do that, go get some clogs or something like that. Now, since Super Dave says and knows that I just think in terms of stocks and money, slip-ons, here we go. We're going to throw this
Here
out.
we go.
Okay, and we're going to, you got to pay attention to the regular caveat. Any stock that I talk about may not be for you, may be too risky for you. So before you invest in anything, make sure you sit down with a financial advisor. Past performance, of course, doesn't guarantee future results, et cetera, et cetera. But slip-on shoes, Skechers. And Skechers has come up with a lot of nice ideas, but primarily they do a lot of what I call knockoff shoe styles.
Yeah. Yep.
Skechers just reported their earnings numbers, and they missed. Didn't do so well, and they also gave a very light guidance going forward into the next quarter. Their stock fell back from a high, and it was down today a little, about 9%, trading at $58 and change on that. On the other hand, Deckers, which is a shoe brand that I don't understand primarily, that being they manufacture Teva sandals and Uggs, those Australian sheepskin boots that I'll say surfers wear, a lot of women wear around during the winter, although I haven't seen too many of those in the Minnesota winter. And you can slip those things on, and they also have a brand called Hoka, or as I used to say, Hookah.
Yeah, hookah.
Hookah shoes. And Hookah shoes are very, very tall, very cushiony, and very lightweight and expensive. But Deckers crushed the numbers, and their stock continues to go up. So their stock was up 10%. They're trading about $772 a share. So there's a difference in terms of, you want the knockoff or do you want the real thing? And if you want the real thing, you're going to have to pay up for it, and you'll get a good shoe.
Yeah.
There's another shoe company that's quite popular now called On, for On Cloud.
Oh yeah, yep.
And they've got the real funny soles. There's a local runner who is huge with that. Joey Klecker is an On runner, On professional runner. Joey is the son of Barney and Janice Klecker. Barney just lost his 50-kilometer and 50-mile world record. And Janice is a former Olympian in the marathon. And their youngest, Joey, participated in the Olympics and the World Games, and he happens to be an On athlete. On shoes are not for me, but they have made some huge inroads among runners and casual wearers, and people love the cushioning in those shoes. And quite frankly, the different brands that have come out have really, I'll say, put Nike, the leader, and Adidas back on their heels.
Well, so that's a good thing. Now I got to run something by you. Tevin and I had already talked about this on the morning show, but Andy, Officer Dave, and Josh, I got up early this morning, and I watched the local, not the local news channels, the national news channels. I lasted about 1 minute on CNN. I lasted about 1 minute on Fox. And I turn over to OAN, One America News. I'm watching that. They put out a story this morning, and I want your opinion on this because, like I said, Tevin and I already talked about it. So the three of you, they put out a story this morning about this Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift thing. And they're saying, they literally said it's a major scam. This whole thing is all about money. And the way it worked was that Taylor Swift doesn't have a lot of older listeners to her music. And the NFL doesn't have a lot of younger people under the age of about 25 that watch football anymore. The apparently that group, what is it called again? The Gen Z, that's who they are. Apparently they have no interest in watching football. So OAN News, national news, said that this whole Kelce Swift thing is all about both of them making more money, one in football and one in concert appearances. And apparently it already has brought her a lot of money because older people tune in and go, well, what's this all about? I don't know anything about Taylor Swift. And whereas younger people go, well, maybe I should watch football because I'd like to see Taylor Swift in the stands. What do you guys think about that story?
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
That it's a total scam. This whole relationship is a scam.
Well, I mean, she's like, for the past, 15 years, her entire life has been a meme of like she dates guys just so she can write a song about them and then move on to the next guy.
Whoops.
And now all of a sudden, this is the real one for real. It's the eternal love. No.
So what do you think? Andy said no, it's all fake. What do you two think?
Okay, Dave, go on. Come on, Super Dave. You're the lover. You're a lover.
Yeah, I guess I really don't give a crap one way or the other if it is a scam.
Yeah, well, I understand that.
I don't listen to Taylor Swift, and I really don't watch a whole lot of football.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really care if the relationship is real because
Right.
it doesn't affect me either way. It just, it feels like marketing, and it is marketing, and marketing is made up.
They're talking millions and tens of millions and hundreds of
Oh,
millions of dollars.
absolutely, yeah.
That's what they're saying. All right, Josh, what's your opinion?
I'm with,
Super Josh.
I'm with Super Dave on this. I don't care. It's I'm not going to watch the Kansas City Chiefs just because Taylor Swift is in the stands.
Right.
I don't care one way or the other. I'm not necessarily a fan of Taylor Swift, but my daughter likes Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say my Annie, my significant other, likes Taylor Swift. Her daughter likes Taylor Swift. Okay, she's a good singer, a good entertainer, and because I only think of money, Taylor Swift concert series, her New Era concert series, every weekend generated Super Bowl type money to the cities where they showed up.
Isn't that amazing? Now, Tevin, what was your response to that this morning? I forgot.
I don't think that it's like a conspiracy where they did it and it's all just for marketing, but it's definitely been marketed because it's very easy to take two famous people and grow your brand. But I like to think that they met organically, or not organically even, but just that they are actually into each other, and this potentially could be true love.
So you're very optimistic.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit.
Now, how about this? How come this particular news channel didn't report when they're talking conspiracies? Because this is where I thought you were going. That one of the presidential candidates thinks that this is a big conspiracy and it's going to tip the election.
That's exactly.
Thinking, are you serious? You're thinking that the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce relationship is going to tip the election? If that's what you're standing on, man, you're a very weak candidate.
Yeah. So what options did they give for how could they tip an election?
Well, because Taylor Swift will come out and endorse
Joe Biden,
one of the presidential candidates, as she did in the previous election, and that tipped that brought out a lot of young people to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, man, that's a stretch.
Yeah, especially because for every Swiftie that's out there, there's an angry NFL fan that's like, "Why is she always on my TV?"
So, that's true.
And yeah,
that's
Taylor
true.
Swift doesn't need the NFL to be as popular as she is. Like, she was Taylor Swift before all of this started.
The Kentucky contingent just sent me a message that they're only together until she's got enough for the next album.
Yep.
Ooh. Well, that's a possibility.
I don't know. I think it's in terms of football, I think it's kind of fun. Maybe it does bring in the NFL's got to like that. They get a few more viewers.
Okay. So, well, let me put it this way. I got several emails after I did that story on the morning show. Got several emails saying, "Okay, next, why don't you take this up? Why is Catherine still with you?"
Tom, you and I both did these things.
I don't see Catherine in the background there.
No, I don't see her. She's nowhere around. I don't know where she is. No, it's an interesting deal, but I could see that Taylor Swift would like to expand her upper age audience, and I could see why the NFL does not like the fact that Gen Zers don't like football. So there would be reasons on both ends to do this, to pull this off. I don't know if they are or not, but there are reasons why they would be doing it.
Wait a minute. Gen Zers don't like football.
No, they
don't. Have you been to a Wisconsin football game?
No.
That's a experience in of itself.
But they're in college. They have something personal attached
Well,
to
well,
that.
right
Yeah.
now, that's Gen Zers. They love football.
Yeah, I would be curious to see where they pull these numbers from, because all you hear from, and I guess maybe it's just the NFL trying to say, hey, we're still popular, but is, especially with fantasy football and now sports betting being legalized everywhere, it feels like more and more people are paying attention to, whether it's the NFL or just obscure sports in general.
Right. Well, do you think they're watching football rather than watching the fact that it's just spent $35 at the burger joint? Is it just distracting them from real life? Is that what it's about?
Yeah, that could be.
Well, it might be.
I don't know. Well, I have to think of the wing place. I don't think they get the crowds anymore.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
they really?
No, well, that kind of, it was just a, like an Applebee's, if you will, kind of chain wing place where it's not necessarily quality. You're just going there because you can get, Tyson chicken nuggets dipped in every sauce imaginable.
Right.
Well,
Well,
I thought you were going there not just for the wings, but for all the entertainment that they had, all the TVs, and to watch sports.
Yeah, but there's a lot of, I would say, small town bars that now have adopted that model where we're going to put TVs
sure.
everywhere, and then but
Sure.
we're also going to have more high quality food, so you're going to want to stay rather than go to kind of a McDonald's version of a sports bar.
No, it was a Minnesota woman that started Buffalo Wild Wings, wasn't it? I think.
Yes, it was.
That's what
Made
I
a
thought.
lot of money and sold it.
I do remember hearing about that. I met her one time, just very briefly. Seemed like a pleasant person. I'd be pleasant too if I sold Buffalo Wild Wings.
Absolutely.
Might have a few bucks more in my pocket. So what the hell? I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
I don't think having more money changes who the person is.
Doesn't make them worse or better.
No, just
No.
makes them more of that person, probably.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right. So what else is going on in the world, fellas?
Well, the Federal Reserve did not move on interest rates
Why?
this year. They continue to say higher for longer, higher for longer. We are not cutting interest rates in March. We're still on track, watching inflation. We want to see many more months to see that inflation is right around our 2% target.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation numbers keep coming down. They are concerned about the employment picture. They are concerned about rising wages. And they said it's going to be some time until rates come down. And at the conclusion of their meeting on Wednesday, well, the stock market didn't like the fact
Right.
that the Fed
Right.
said, oh, we're higher for longer, higher for longer. Don't count on rates coming down. And if you recall, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold, that's me, said don't count on the Fed cutting interest rates in March. They'll probably cut maybe in May. And then if they do cut again, it's going to be after the election. Do bear in mind that a week ago, the GDP number came out, an inflation number came out. Geez, perfect. GDP was up 3.3%. Inflation was at 2%. Boy, you can't beat that. Today we had a jobs number came out. Monthly jobs number came out, and initially, market players were very upset. Oh my goodness, 353,000 jobs were created in January. And it wasn't just government jobs, it was a lot of business services jobs. So more people were working and they were getting paid a little more. And the unemployment rate remained at 3.7%. Man, that's an awful lot of Goldilocks. Yet, I'll say, following the Fed meeting, there were a bunch of market strategists came out and said, if the Fed keeps interest rates high, if they maintain their quantitative tightening policy, It's the end. We're going to have a recession. Recession is coming. Buy, keep your money in cash or short-term treasuries because there's going to be a better time later this year to buy bonds. And I said, to get a recession, you need a recession is defined as 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth. Well, the last time we had that was the first 6 months of 2022. So the economy has been growing slowly but steadily since, and inflation has been coming down since. So I'm not foreseeing, a recession this year unless things really change. Now, having said that, Europe is not running real hot, and China is dealing with deflation. China's got to do something to goose their economy, primarily because real estate prices continue to fall. And if real estate prices are falling, people are starting to feel, we'll say in China, less expansive, which means consumers may not be spending as much money, which has been reflected a little bit in my favorite Apple's numbers that came out last quarter, which showed that China sales were down 13% from the previous quarter, and they're not predicted to grow over the next quarter. Now, other sales for Apple are growing at a pretty good rate, and Apple beat the street, top line and bottom line. Their margins were up. Phone sales were up, but they issued, as normal, very conservative guidance. And maybe the positive coming from Apple is they were finally talking about generative artificial intelligence and a product that could be released later this year. So Nike or Starbucks, Kentucky Fried Chicken, heck, even Tesla, could be tested with a weaker Chinese consumer. On the other hand, you've got India has got pretty strong economy. So maybe I don't think Tesla sells yet in India, but Apple does.
Mm-hmm.
And another favorite of mine, Amazon does a bit of business in India, and Amazon beat the numbers last night with top line, bottom line, and analysts like what they said about artificial intelligence and Amazon Web Services, including introducing for beta testing a product called Rufus that will help shoppers with generative artificial intelligence. The big winner in artificial intelligence and in earnings of the big companies was Meta, also known as Facebook, Instagram, and Reels. They were big.
How did his appearance do before Congress? How did that work for him?
Well, the stock went down a little bit.
Right.
He did his humble apology, and then said, "Well, here's what we're going to do, and we're sorry for offending anybody." And then they went back to making money.
Oh, that does make sense. I was going to bring this up at the beginning of the show, but I'll bring it up now because now is a good time to do it anyway. People are saying that they want to do, when we do this on Fridays, if you could do kind of like, I suppose it would be a commercial, I guess, but they want to know how to reach out, when to reach out, what's a good, get some advice. What we might do also is invite people to call in, one person per week call in if they have any financial questions, if that's okay with you, because they've been asking me
It's
about that.
always okay with me. You know, I always like to meet new people. I'd like to continue to expand my business, just like you'd like to continue to expand your business.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes total
And
sense. Yeah.
and Super Dave would like, he'd like some more opportunities.
Just
Well,
here to just here to protect you, Josh. That's what I'm here for, man.
I
Well,
do have a
yeah,
question
at
from
your
the
size
audience.
versus my size, I need the protection.
There you go. Andy, what do you got?
Jeff wants to know your opinion on having a low price stock fund as a part of a 401k mix.
A low price stock fund. Well, I guess that might be the Fidelity low priced stock fund as part of that. I see no problem with that. You might want to have somewhere between 10 to 15% of your money in what Fidelity would consider bargains. Now, low prices is not necessarily buying penny stocks. You could have um, something's considered low price because it's got a very low price to sales ratio, a low price to earnings ratio. Could also fit in there. So these might be considered more value opportunities, or what I would look at as mispriced merchandise. And heck, I like to look for mispriced merchandise, growth companies that are growing but have had some issues, and investors have said, "Nah, we don't want to own these right now." So there are a lot of them, and they tend for patient investors to do very well. So having some money in the low priced fund would be okay by me, about 10 to 15%.
There you have it. What is there a phone number for people listening now? Because they've been asking me this too. And we do.
Anybody that wants to contact me, 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. As I like to say, you always get straight talk, not sugar-coated advice.
I like it. Works for me. What's the top rate now? Because there's that, the normal rate is, where is it now? Around 6%, something like that. Where is it?
For
Where are
what?
the rates now? The
I
varying
mean, if
rates.
somebody wants to go get a mortgage, it's going to be right now. Uh, it's under 7% for a mortgage. If somebody wants to put money into a CD, depending on the bank, the credit union, that could be anywhere from, and the time you're going to put it in, it's going to be somewhere between, we'll say 3.5 to about 5%. In a CD, you can buy short-term treasuries right now. So that's anything under 1 year. We're going to be somewhere 4.5 to 5%. If you want a 10-year treasury, that's just under 4% as we speak. But I tend to like looking at stocks, which are going to fluctuate more in value. If somebody's looking for just the dividend payout, and bear in mind, the higher the dividend payout, typically the lower the appreciation. I would tend to look at some real estate investment trusts. That's only because they're cheap. They haven't gone any place for a long time. Should the economy even stay where it's at, and we'll say at some point the Fed does cut interest rates a little bit, that would be of benefit to a lot of real estate investment trusts. And as long as you're cautious about office REITs, which have some significant problems, yields on the on these REITs are going to run anywhere from 4 to 10%. And I think that's good in terms of interest. But I happen to like looking at stocks that have plenty of growth potential or are steady in their business. I think companies like Apple or Amazon, Microsoft are very solid performers. Meta is not for me. I think that's a little bit pricey. But Meta also said they declared their first dividend. I happen to like some of the gambling stocks. And when you talk, here's Gen Z or Gen X, or I'll say Gen X, Y, Z, millennials, and even boomers are big into fantasy sports.
Right.
So that benefits, one of my favorites, DraftKings or FanDuel, which is part of Flutter, and Flutter is an English company just listed this past week on the New York Stock Exchange, and that looks kind of interesting.
Bill wants to know about borrowing money. If he needs to borrow money, where's the best place to go? What's the rate?
Well, the best place to go is probably his bank or credit union.
Right.
That's the easiest place. If I use as a benchmark the 30-year mortgage rate at we'll say just under 7%, then you can move rates around from there.
What is the highest rate?
Woo.
Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have asked that question.
That depends on the borrower's credit.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Okay, but if you really want a high rate, to borrow money, and there are a lot of people that borrow money on a daily basis from using their credit card.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And if you take a look at the annual percentage rate on the outstanding balance of your credit card, I think those numbers start with a 2 and have another number behind them.
Man,
so
that's a lot of money.
That used to be called usury.
Usury, yep.
But because the credit cards are issued primarily by banks and some credit unions, I think the banks' lobbies are pretty strong. So usury rules do not apply there when the banks are issuing credit cards. But that's, borrowing from your credit card is probably the most expensive form of borrowing. You could also borrow from your investment account that's not an IRA through a margin loan.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And margin loans, again, depending on the brokerage firm, are going to run anywhere from 5% up probably to 10%.
10%, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, the brokerage firms, that's another source of revenue for the brokerage firms. And that doesn't matter whether it's the brokerage firm is Money Block, Apex, Merrill Lynch, Charles Schwab, Robinhood, or SoFi.
No, look at all the stuff I learned today. Not only did I learn about rates, but I learned your phone number. What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty good. 952-925-5608.
Yeah, they want you to mention that. Again. They want you to mention that a few times during the show because they can go, well, I want to call them, but then, you guys never give out the number. We do, actually. There's an ad running. But I think it's probably a good idea to talk about how to reach out to you during the show, because I know a lot of people really love listening to this show because it's not hypey at all. That's one thing they God, I hate being nice to you. It makes me really uncomfortable.
Oh gosh, Tom, I'm starting to blush.
No, but they say
Oh my goodness.
they would feel comfortable talking to you is what they tell me. So that's good.
Well, I appreciate that. Heck, my clients like listening to the show. They said it. One, they get to see Tevin and Super Dave, but then
Sure.
they get to see and hear you. And I'd say most of my clients, you know, have been like me. You've woken them up for decades.
Go get them out of bed. Andy's so that's only been for what? How many years? 10 years now.
Since what?
We started doing the podcast together.
It's going to be 12, I think,
12
in
years,
August.
Jesus. 12 years. That's
Yes.
unbelievable. But see, I think having this show is a good idea because most of the financial shows that I tune in, they seem way too slick. Do you get that feeling sometimes, that, Officer Dave, Tevin, and Josh? You get the feeling that a lot of these advice shows about how to borrow money, how to spend money, all that, they seem kind of scammy in a way. Is that? Do you guys get that feeling?
Yeah, it feels like they all think they're the smartest guy in the room, and
Right.
we're going to preach at you about this. And if you're not putting your money here, then what are you even doing? And you have to have $1 billion before you can even start investing. Whereas with Josh, it feels more like I can ask, rudimentary entry level questions, or I can ask more complex questions. And he's going to be able to handle both of those just fine and make me feel like it's something I can do and not be intimidating about it.
See, look at that, Josh. You're
Oh,
a superstar.
geez, Tevin.
Big shot.
Super
Thank you very
Josh.
That's
much.
what you wanted me to say,
We
though.
like that.
Josh,
That's
did
what
I
he
get it
paid
right?
you to say, Devin.
Yeah, that's what he wanted me to say. Though. Did I get
Get
it
the
right?
shell out.
We have a question from Jim. He wants to know what you think of giving inheritance while still alive.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Giving that's pretty good. You can gift up, what is it? It's a little more than $15,000 to as many people as you want while you're alive. Cash money. If you gift stock before you die, that can be a problem for the people you gift it to, because they're going to have to know what your cost basis is, because when they go to sell that asset that was gifted, they've got to pay a capital gains tax on it. Now, if you gift a stock
Sure.
that's in a losing position, they would still have to know the cost basis on that when you gift we'll say an asset. If you gift cash, the only thing they're going to have to worry about is what they do with it. After the fact, I see there's nothing wrong with gifting cash. If you want to gift assets, to me, it's better to wait until you die, because those appreciated assets, get a stepped up basis, so your beneficiaries do not have to pay a tax until the money's appreciated on that. So if you're going to give your inheritance, give cash. If you're going to give an asset, wait.
That does make sense. Also, another point this person's making. Back in the day, like I do remember my father when he was still around. So this is 70 years ago or something, or 65 anyway. He brought home 5 $100 bills because he had cashed his check. Right? So, I mean, that was a very, very big deal. He was laying these $100 bills out, and that was a very big deal. Now, from what I've seen, Josh, and you would pay a lot closer attention to this than me, in order to make it, let's say there's mom, dad, and a couple of kids, or let's just say there's 4 family members. They say now, in order to break even, you're going to have to make about $85,000 a year. Do you find that to be true?
That one, Tom, I don't know.
Yeah, what would be a
I
good
really don't
wage?
know.
Yeah.
Um, that number sounds high,
Mm-hmm.
but again, I don't know.
The reason I
Uh,
ask you that is because they've talked for a long time about the fact that the average family in America now makes about $58,000 a year. So that's quite a bit short, $17,000 short of where the break even point is. That's not good news if it's true.
well, no, that is not good news. I mean, you could probably figure a few things out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, what's the cost of renting? We'll say a 3 bedroom apartment,
Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
uh, or it. And where? And the other question is where you need at least $85,000 a year to break even. What city is
Yeah,
it?
that's a big difference, isn't it? It depends on
And
if
what
you're in a
you
big city
know
or not.
if you're living in New York City, I'll say in Manhattan. Yeah, having $85,000,
Ooh.
given what the rents are, man, that is tough. I know. My daughter and son-in-law live in New York City. They have a 1 bedroom apartment. Um, in an older building. They're expecting a child, and I think their rent is about $2,700 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just right there for rent. Um, that's 31,000.
God,
That's just for rent. Then they've
that's
got
just for rent. Oh, God.
um, now. Let's see. My son-in-law works for Bloomberg News as a writer reporter. My daughter is self-employed, so they use his health insurance, so that cuts their health insurance cost. Um, they've got food costs in New York are no more than they are here, and in actuality, you could probably go out to eat cheaper in New York City than you can here because of so much competition.
That's amazing.
Um, they they don't need a car, so that that's a nice savings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I probably add in all their the normal stuff just because of the rent, they're probably going to need close to that 70, well, probably closer to 75,000 to break even where they live. Now that means they don't necessarily take a vacation.
Yeah, that's very, very true. We got about 5 minutes left to go, and people have been asking me if it's okay if we do this, and I think it probably is okay to do this. It has nothing to do with money talk or any of the rest of it. But a lot of people want to get Officer Dave's opinion on two New York police officers trying to bring a guy into custody and several migrants. These are people who snuck across the border, attacked the two officers, pummeling them.
Oh,
They
did
were
you see the
arrested.
pictures of that?
Yes. Did you see
Oh
it,
my
Officer Dave?
gosh.
I did not see it. No.
You don't want to watch it. And I'll tell you why you don't want to watch it. That the five guys who were arrested for attacking police officers trying to do their job were released without bail.
Oh,
I knew you'd love that one. You believe this? Without bail. And you know what happened? The five of them apparently hopped on some kind of transit and they're on their way to California
doesn't
from New
surprise
York.
me a bit.
How do you let somebody who's attacked a police officer physically out of jail with no bail?
Yeah, I
What happened?
it's our lawmakers, and I'll tell you, every cop on the job is one call away from losing his life, his
Yeah.
career,
Yep.
his home, everything. One call. It doesn't matter if it's little old lady on a medical or what happened in New York. It's a scary place, scary thing to be right now.
Well, it's amazing because the two cops tackle this guy and and he's fighting back. And while he's fighting back, the two cops, they're all three are on the ground on the sidewalk. And then about 5, 6, 7 other guys keep running up, kicking the cops in the head, and they were released no bail.
Yeah.
What happened to America?
Yeah. It looks like one guy got kicked in the back and then the back of the head twice, and then they all took off and aren't nowhere to be found now.
Oh.
No bail. They were released
that wouldn't surprise me here in Minnesota. It's especially
agree.
Hennepin County that would happen here.
So we'll close with this question to Josh Arnold. If you had an opportunity, if Officer Dave was laying on the ground, would you kick him in the head?
If
No, not only would I not kick him in the head, I would use whatever strength I had to try to pick him up.
Yes.
And do some damage to his assailants. I wouldn't be, standing around with my iPhone trying to take pictures of
They
this.
did.
Oh, look at this.
You're
Look at
right.
this.
Yeah. If Officer Dave was ever tackled by an assailant, I'm going to find 5 of my closest friends, because the guy that is able to just tackle Officer Dave is got to be about the size of a skyscraper. So there's very little that I'm going to be able to do by myself.
Probably
in the
true.
academy, there was a scenario we did 4 guys against 2 cops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were all wearing the red man suits and whatnot. I ended up with 3 of them, and my partner won.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, it was a little difficult. Let's put it that way.
But you came out the other side.
I'm still here. I'm still breathing.
You're still here and you're still breathing. There's no question about it. All right. Any final words from everybody? Is everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Don't assault police officers. You're not going to win. Be nice to people.
That'd be a good thing. Josh, that number one more time, Pally. People want to reach out and get your information.
952-925-5608.
All right, gentlemen. Have a magnificent weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
Adios.
Be safe out there.
All right.
We'll do it. Bye.